Wednesday, July 22nd, 2020, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So gold and silver are on a rampage, so to speak, overnight. Yesterday, both metals did very well, of course. Silver broke through that 2110 area that had been the high from July 2016. I was surprised when I woke up this morning to see silver where it is right now, around 22.40. It's up another dollar, just over a dollar. Gold is at 18.60, so we've blown through that 18.25 resistance. Yes, it's looking good. There are some people attributing this to one of Trump's pick for Fed board, Judy Shelton. I've spoken about Judy Shelton many times in the past, well, about 4 years ago when Donald Trump was running, and there was talk that she was going to be very important. Historically, she's been anti-central banking, pro-sound money or gold standard, but I think right now this is just a distraction. The reason why precious metals are going higher is because of inflation. And as I've said many times before, inflation is not the rise in CPI or PPI. Inflation, of course, is the increase in money and credit, fiat currency and credit that we're having in spades now, especially after this crisis started back in March, so to speak. So I'll go over the story about Judy Shelton. And my analogy might sound a little bit, I don't know, rude, but I would say it's like a virgin saying that she'll never be a prostitute, that it's a horrible thing. She's going to wait until she gets married. And then she becomes a prostitute, right? I think that's what the analogy, the best analogy for Judy Shelton is. Someone who is pro-sound money, anti-central banking, to join the central bank. To me, that's the analogy. It's a lot like Alan Greenspan. I wasn't really, well, I was around, of course, when he became chairman of the Federal Reserve. Before that, he was on the board, of course. But I didn't follow these things. But I can bet that back then a lot of people thought it was encouraging, that he was a sound money proponent. He'd written the essay about gold and economic freedom back in 1966. But look what he did once he came in. He's the one who started all this craziness of central banking, providing always accommodation, what we might want to call money printing, but really isn't, because you need to watch an interview I did yesterday with Alan Meyers about the Federal Reserve. He's written a pamphlet about how the Fed really works. I highly recommend the interview. It's like a part one. And I know it's a really long one. It's 2 hours long. But if you really want to know who has the power, it's not going to be Judy Shelton. It's not going to be the Board of Governors. So you need to listen to that interview. It's 2 hours. I know it's long. You could watch an hour and then another day watch another hour. So FT is saying here, Trump's pick for Fed board clears first hurdle. So she hasn't been given the approval by the Senate yet. Says nominee Judy Shelton's controversial views leave some Republicans reluctant to lend support. So this is not done yet, but personally I think gold and silver are not going up because of Judy Shelton. The fact that she might become a board member of the Federal Reserve. The real power in the Federal Reserve really doesn't lie with the Federal Reserve. It lies with the private commercial banks that own the regional banks. That's what Alan and I talked about yesterday. Not yesterday, but I published the interview yesterday. We talked about it on Monday. It was a long interview, so it took a while to edit and publish it. So, yeah, I wanted to put that out there first, that don't be fooled by this. I think what the precious metals are telling us, and also a metal like copper, is that we're going to see a continued debasement of the currency. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence about prices going up of things that we really need, like food and other things that are really necessary for survival. Of course, prices of things that are superfluous are probably going down. But yeah, my wife, for example, she went to the supermarket yesterday and she said it cost her 20% more than it did 6 months ago, and she bought roughly the same things. I read an article from Half Dollar on silverdoctors.com. I'm going to put it below in the description about his trip to Washington, D.C. recently, about the fact that the hotel room was $87, but after all the taxes and fees, it was more like $130. So there's a lot of embedded price rises in there that are not showing up. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and why I think the smart money as well, the very wealthy, are getting into tangibles, is that back in April, I realized with the help or the warning from one of my viewers who was on the live stream, that I had some cryptocurrencies that I didn't know I had, something called Hive Coin. Hive is a bit like Steemit, where you publish your videos. They hard forked from Steemit, so I got loads of these coins. And he said, Mario, they're worth quite a bit now, because it's funny, because in the cryptocurrencies, people can see how much you have. So I went there and I had quite a bit, a few $1,000s worth of Hive. Didn't really even know at the time what it was, but I sold most of it, put it into my local currency, and bought some fine wine. I have a friend from Italy whose family is involved in the business, and he advised me, buy, this year, this is a good year. And I looked yesterday and I bought 6 bottles, and the price already from the people I bought is gone up by 15 pounds a bottle. I know it's not a great example maybe, but I think it's showing that people want to get rid of their paper currency. And I think that's what gold and silver are telling us as well. Gold and silver, they've been a stable store of value for thousands of years. I think the fact that the currencies, fiat currencies, are dropping versus gold and silver, because that's how we really have to look at it. It's not gold and silver going up. I think it's the other way around. It's just telling us that all this currency that's been created, all the fiscal and monetary stimulus, that's the simple law of supply and demand, and that's what's happening. It's got nothing to do, in my opinion, with Judy Shelton or the Federal Reserve. I think it's just people realizing that we're going to get an acceleration of the debasement of currencies. So I wanted to put that out there just to let you know. The percentage increase of that wine I bought is just under 11% in 3 months. A few more anecdotal evidence of the fact that I think our economies, both in the US and in the UK, are not going to pick up anytime soon. I have a friend, a good friend, the guy I worked with when I first came to London, who hired me to work with him. I still talk to him, and he's got dual nationality. He's American and British. And he phoned me yesterday, and he'd been to New York for just 6 days because he has a place there. New York City, and he said, I've never seen it like that. He said it's dead. There's nothing going on in New York City. And he said London, compared to New York, is buzzing, even though I haven't really been too much into central London. So that's an anecdotal event. And also half dollar. He drove into Washington, D.C., and he said it was really dead as well. So 2 of the biggest metropolitan areas in the U.S., dead. So is there a recovery coming? Maybe a little bit, but it won't be as much as maybe the markets think. Maybe the stock markets remain firm because people would rather own companies than keep the currency as well. You need to think of that. What else? I saw yesterday that it's going to be touch and go to try to extend all the fiscal help after, I think it's July 26th, the $600 checks that people get in the U.S. I think the president and the Congress are not really seeing eye to eye, so that's another uncertainty there. So let's go and look now at the markets then and see where we are. The gold-silver ratio I was speaking about yesterday, that's really dropped massively, of course, with silver up like 6%, 5%, 2 days in a row. We're almost down. I said yesterday it was a resistance, that 80 level. No, it's a support. It used to be resistance. I apologize. So we're almost there. I think we got to 81 this morning. We're now at 83. So what does that mean? Well, it means that either silver will come down a bit, correct, and it might because it's gone up so quickly, or maybe gold will catch up as silver goes up as well, and gold might outperform a little bit if that ratio is to stay there above 80 and not go through 80, I would say. So it's 8:10 a.m. London time. So we've got spot gold at 1860.50. It's up about $19 or 1%. The low's been 1838 and the high 1866. I spoke about that 1825 level. Yeah, that's the highest monthly close ever, and we've broken through that. But we still have a bit of a ways to go until the end of July. I think it's next Friday, the last trading day of the month. So a lot could happen. We could go back and retest that, which is very possible, or we could be at 2,000. Who knows? These markets are getting very interesting. And again, a lot of people I see in the comments, or even like on Sunday, I went out, as some of you might know, for a barbecue. I met some people I didn't know. We were talking about things, mentioned precious metals. And most people say, oh, is it not too late to buy? Hasn't it gone up too much? I think the question to ask is whether the fiat currencies are going to go down further. And if you think the central banks are going to raise rates, if you think governments are going to rein in fiscal spending, then yes, maybe you should be thinking about that precious metals are going to go down relative to the fiat currencies. So if you think that, then yeah, don't get into precious metals. I personally think I don't see the end of this, of all the stimulus. So that's why I remain of the position that I'll try to exchange as much fiat currency, depreciating fiat currency, for gold and silver. Silver is up just over $1 here, $1.08 at 22.36. It's been up as high as 22.85. Of course, 21.15 was the key resistance. That was a really, really important level, and that's why we've seen this massive spike in the last 24 hours in silver because we broke that. What does that mean? Well, I think there are a lot of people out there who were short silver, who have had to cover their shorts. And of course, there are those who are momentum traders, speculators, who've piled in on the long side. So that's where silver is. The low overnight has been 21.24. So it's been a very wide range. But that's silver in a bull market. It's like a bucking bronco. It will go, crazy. So what about the stock market? While the Dow is up 60 at 26,900, the Dow Gold Ratio is still fairly steady. It's around 1440. So not much going on there. I expect that ratio to drop or to stay pretty stable. The Dow Gold Ratio, that's the price of the Dow in gold. That's how many ounces you need for one index. S&P future up 6 or 0.18%. The NASDAQ 100 futures up 40 or 1/3%. Sterling is down 0.1 at 127.18, still relatively firm. The dollar index is not looking very good. I think we've broken through 96. So I've made several videos about the dollar index that I think the cycles are telling me that the dollar index is going to continue lower for another 4 or 5 years. And I think the top in the dollar index was in January 2017, around 103.82. This year we went up to just above 103, but we never breached that high from 2017. So the trend continues to be lower for the dollar index. That's more basically the euro. It's 2/3 the euro. So the euro this morning is up 1/8%, above 115 now, 115.40. So the euro is still looking pretty good. The dollar is unchanged against the yen at 106.78. Crude oil, WTI, is almost up to 42. It's at 41.85, unchanged. Just have a look at copper. Copper is doing very well as well. I spoke about copper a few days ago, and it's looking very bullish as well. And copper is used to be, of course, part of the monetary system. I've got pennies and pence that I've found that are made of copper. So it is kind of money as well. And as I said, silver is becoming more and more monetized in the market, I think. Not the jury, not because people are, the legislation is making it, but de facto, right? People realize that it's something good to have to protect against fiat currency debasement. As you can see there, copper, high-grade copper, looking very good as well. What about the bond market? Yeah, bond market remains pretty depressed, the yields, that is. So the prices remain quite firm. The 10-year yields right at that 0.6%. I saw yesterday we traded a little bit below 0.6. So yeah, interest rates remain quite low. There you go. Yep. Don't be distracted by the politics, by the Federal Reserve, by Judy Shelton. Keep an eye on the money. The central banks, the banking system, they're continuing to inflate. We're still going to most likely see a lot of fiscal stimulus going forward. So, there you go. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.